How are you today?
Good.
Good. Thank you for coming to this talk. I think you'll enjoy it. And for those of you who may not know me, I am the author of many, many books, including 5 #1 bestsellers in their genres. These are some of the books that I have written, which you might be interested in. And this is a paranormal conference, or expo. And it's really fun because there's so many exciting things that you can do with the paranormal. And every single person in this room has paranormal abilities. You can learn. Even if you weren't born with some natural ability, you can learn. Just find one you like. Clairvoyance, or telekinesis, or telepathy. Telepathy is so easy to learn. So don't be daunted by someone say, oh, well, this person has it, but I don't have it. Because you can have, just choose one you want. It's easy to do. This book down here, Unleash Your Psychic Powers, has 17 different psychic and paranormal abilities that I've personally taught to people over the years, and it's a great book if you just want to learn how to start developing some of your own psychic abilities. Now, as this is a paranormal conference, we have to also realize that most of us are never going to see a ghost. Most of us are not going to be levitating tables or talking to the deceased, but it's something we're all interested in. And it's something that I think, if you think about it, what can you do right now, today, that will show you that you have paranormal abilities? As I mentioned, telepathy is one of the easiest ones to learn. And one of the easiest ways to do that is talking to angels. Because angels talk to you telepathically. They can talk to you other ways too. They can actually appear in front of you. But the normal way that they speak with most people is telepathically in your mind. You say, well, how would I talk telepathically in your mind? There's something you can do right now to test it. Without speaking any words, right now in your mind, say, I love you. You didn't hear unaudible, I love you, but you clearly heard, I love you, in your mind when you said those words. That's the beginning of telepathy. And that's oftentimes how angels will speak to you. People have to be able to overcome their own doubts. They have to be able to overcome their own mind. Your mind gets in the way. Your mind says, oh, I can't do this, or I'm just talking to myself, or things like that. And in fact, you can do it. You can overcome those things. And it starts by just turning off your mind. Now, some of you may remember years ago when I used to publicly channel Philos. Philos is my very best friend. Love Philos. He's helped me out so much in my life. But my background is geophysics, scientist. So when I used to think people who channel had marbles for brains. I mean, how can you believe in something like that? But in fact, I found that it happened to me, and you can do it. And with Philos, it was interesting because even today, I talk to Philos on a regular basis. But to do that, I had to turn my mind off a little bit. So I actually picture a room just like this, but it's completely empty. There's no chairs, no people, just 4 walls and a door on each wall. And in the middle of the floor is my brain. And as I'm ready to call in Philos to channel, I picture my brain sprouting 6 little legs and the door opening somewhere in darkness on the other side, and the brain just screws up, jumps through the door, and I call Philos, and then Philos comes. I actually have to turn my brain off, because if I use my scientific brain, how does this work? This is impossible. What's the basis of this? And it doesn't work then. Your brain gets in the way. But if you let that brain just be at rest for a minute, you can do amazing things. So remember that little experiment we did right now at the beginning, where you silently, through yourself, said, I love you. Because I'm going to be talking about angels today, and a lot about guardian angels. And that's one of the key things. You're going to be able to contact your guardian angels and talk to them. Your guardian angels can be your very best friends. It's literally. People have interesting ideas about angels. You guys read other books and things out there that people have written, and they say, oh, you know what angels, when you see a feather, or the rainbow comes out when you pray, or any number of unusual coincidences, and all those things might be possible. But for me, when I think about angels, I think about serious things that happen that there's no other explanation for. So paranormal means not normal. So if you can find an incident that happens in your life, and it's easy, oh, my angels help me, or whatever, but if it's something that could be answered in another way, then maybe it wasn't your angels that helped you, maybe it was something just a coincidence that helped you, well, then there's a little doubt there. But on the other hand, if you're falling off a cliff and falling down to your death and all of a sudden you're alive, that's nothing normal about that. That was paranormal if you'd survived intact. And those type of things have happened to me a lot. I'm going to share some of those experiences with you. Now, I've had so many angel experiences. People say, well, how come you've had so many angel experiences? Well, part of the reason probably is this book here. This 800-page, 3-pound book, The Oracles of Celestine Light. I was called to be a scribe for that book. I actually didn't write the book, but it was like spiritual time travel. I actually traveled back in time while I was still in the present, and I actually witnessed the events that happened 2,000 years ago that are written about in this book. This book came out 12 years ago. And in that time, it's now started spiritual movements all over the world. And they write me an email saying, oh, we just started a group about the Oracles of Celestine Light. Great. But because that is a spiritual type book, that's one of the reasons that I think I have a lot of angel experiences. A lot of times my life has been saved, literally, from certain death. Because I had to do things like the Oracles of Celestine Light. Now, one of the things I want to be clear from what I understand about angels is that angels do have a body. Angels can speak to you telepathically. They can speak to you physically, audibly. They have emotions. They have rituals. They have things they want to do in life. And they can be your very, very best friend. Someone who can be there to help you in any number of things, especially guardian angels. But there's other angels, angels of stewardship. And stewardship is just like if you have children. Your children are your stewardship. You're given the stewardship to raise those children up in a way that they become good people, balanced people, and successful in life. That's your job as a parent, that's your stewardship. And let's see, this book here, Angels of Miracles and Manifestation, talks about contacting your guardian angels, but it also talks about 144 angels of stewardship. Angels have specific responsibilities to help you when you call upon them, including paranormal abilities. There's a whole chapter on the angels whose stewardship is paranormal abilities. It's separate ones, clairvoyance, telekinesis. And they're very, very helpful. If you call upon them, you call upon them in the right way, which is described in the book, you can have a great deal of success. I want to share with you a few stories now that have happened to me in my life and other people that are close to me that you might find interesting. One that happened very recently to a friend who asked me to remain anonymous if I told this story, so I'm going to call her Joan. That's not her real name. Joan was an immigrant from Guyana, and she and her husband live in LA. And her husband had a stroke a couple years earlier, and she had to be his caregiver. They went from being a 2-income family to being a 1-income family, just her income alone. And so they were struggling financially. She had a job as a caregiver. She worked for a company that sent caregivers out to people who needed caregivers at home. And one day she was just so frustrated because the money was so tight and she couldn't see a way that she could expand beyond where she was and that she could be able to have the kind of income that they used to have when they were a 2-income family. And so, of course, she prayed to God, but she also called upon the angel Wismar. The angel Wismar is the angel of good fortune. So she didn't pray to him, she called upon him. You don't pray to angels, you call upon him. She called upon the angel Wismar to help her, to give her some good fortune. The very next day, at work, her boss came up to her and said, Joan, have you ever thought about being a registered nurse? And she said, I have thought about that, and it would be nice, but the cost to go to nursing school is just way beyond my means. I have no way to do that. And he said, I'll tell you what, if you want to become a nurse, I will pay 100% for you. I'll pay for you to go to school. This is one day after she called upon Wismar. So with that, of course, she's ecstatic. She's grateful for this. And then the next thing, she called up the school, the nursing school, to enroll in school. And they said, well, the first available opening we have for you to enroll will be 6 months from now. Oh, she was a little disheartened by that because she was hoping to do it earlier. She called upon Wismar again. She said, Wismar, is there any way you can help me to get into school sooner? 3 days later, they called her back up and said, hey, we just had an opening. You can start next week if you want. She's just taking her final test right now to become a registered nurse. And that was with the help of Wismar. Now, there's other angels that you might find that you can call upon. They're all mentioned in this book. The angel Corban, is specific for helping with your telepathic abilities. So if you want to develop those telepathic abilities, like we just did a little quick experiment, calling upon the angel Korban is very useful. You just ask them. And I say call upon. How do we call upon an angel? 3 times. You say their name, 3 times you call upon them. So what we like to do is I would say, if I was going to call him Korban, I'd say, Korban, 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 please come to me as I need, so let it be. I'd say that again. Korban, 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 please come to me as I need, so let it be. I'm not going to say it 3 times. So, but you say the 3rd time, and then you initiate that. Another angel that's very helpful for people, I mean, all of us at some time in our life get sick. All of us have people we know who get diseases. You can call upon angels to help people. It's not just yourself. You can call upon help friends and family. The angel Quanbera is specific. That's her stewardship, is to help illness and disease. So if you have illness and disease, if you know someone has illness and disease, calling upon the angel Quanbera is very helpful for them. Now, you might notice that I mentioned Korban as a he and Quanbera as a she. There's another distinction of angels. They aren't just men. They're both male and females. One of the things it talks about in the book, whatever angel you're calling upon, the 144 stewardship angels, it'll tell you if it's a male or a female. It'll also have to pronounce their name. Now, some of the other things I'd like to share with you. I'm going to start with something that happened to my father. Because if he hadn't had a guardian angel intervene with him, I wouldn't be here to tell this story today. Would have written any of these books. Before I was born, my mother told me this story when I was a junior in high school. My dad never said anything about his life. But my mother told me the story when I was a junior in high school. Before I was born, she got a call from the hospital one day. He said, your husband's been in a terrible car accident. Can you come to the hospital? Right away. Now, as I tell some of these stories, I get choked up. I'm sorry. I'm an emotional type of person. It's choked up. So my mother came down to the hospital. She said when she came into the hospital, she found my dad slumped up against the wall in a chair, completely covered in blood. And she thought, oh my goodness, he's dead. And she went over to him. She felt, body, same as body, like a girl's body, but it wasn't. And she said, Bonnie, he woke up. It wasn't. In fact, all that blood wasn't his blood. He had been in the car with 3 other gentlemen, 3 other friends of his. They were Navy enlisted men. They had been in a car accident. And those were all the men that he had pulled out of the car, and that was their blood. In that car accident, my mom said she saw the car later on an accordion. She didn't know how anybody had survived. The driver was killed immediately. The front seat passenger died 2 days later. And the other person that was in the car was crippled for life. My father didn't have a scratch on him. None of that blood was his. Because he survived that accident, I was born. So that, of course, is a special one to me. When I was a young child, and I was say like 4 years old, we lived in Key West, Florida. And we lived in Navy housing in Key West, Florida. And right across the street from me was a collie named Oscar. And the people who had Oscar barked a lot. Someone would come by, he would always be barking. So they kept Oscar on a chain. He was always chained up. And so he was kind of an agitated dog. I mean, any dog stays chained up all the time. He's not a happy dog. And Oscar wasn't. But because they were worried about biting people and things like that, they just kept him on a chain. One day, and again, this is a story my mom related to me, because I didn't remember it. But she said one day I was playing in the yard, and she was laying in a lawn chair in the yard, and my ball went into the street. And of course, the little kid went after it. Here comes a car, which I didn't even see. My mom saw it, and she said she was so horrified because she realized there was nothing she could do, that car was going to hit me. But for some of it's like poison. Oscar was not his chain. Ran across the road. divine intervention. Another time, we lived again in Navy housing, this time in Groton, Connecticut. And we had a hill right across the street from our house. This is my house, the hill's right across the street, and off to my left was another steep hill that had a curve. And this particular winter, every winter we got a lot of snow there, and it was a great sledding hill because the road that curved off to the left to go went uphill became poison ice sheets, so the cars couldn't go down it. So we could sled down the hill and across the road and into my front yard. And I was doing that when they had one of those little sleds that you had the runners on that you lay down on, and the runners turn. But the sledding hill was very icy. Everything was very icy. So the runners, being able to turn wasn't very useful because it's just like skiing. If you're on ice, you can't really turn too much. So I was jumped on my sled and I was heading down the hill. So I'm heading down the hill, looking up to my right, and here's a station wagon with a young lady driving, and it's fishtailing all over the places. It's coming down this hill that shouldn't even be trying to come down. And once again, I'm calculating, that car is going to be the same place I am when I'm crossing the road. So I'm putting my sled like this to turn, start, and it's not turning. It's still going straight. And I'm really worried at this point. And I can see this young lady driver is getting really, really close, and she's got a horrified look at her face because she knows she's going to hit me. And the car actually passed in front of me, and I went right underneath the car, and the back wheel stopped right against the body, and it stopped. The car just stopped. I wasn't hurt. The lady jumped out of the car because she saw me under the car, so she thought I was dead. She thought I should run over me, but I was fine. Thankfully, once again, some divine intervention. Now, I grew up in a very redneck Southern family, and we weren't very wealthy. And just tradition from our family was we hunted for a lot of our food. I don't hunt anymore, and I'm vegetarian now. But when I started hunting with my own shotgun when I was 8 years old, and I would go out and we would hunt every week. Most of the food we had on our table. We create squirrels and grouse and pheasants and doves and deer and elk. And if you could hunt it, we hunted it, and we had it for food. That was our main meat that we had at home. And when we lived in Washington State, on the Puget Sound, if you're familiar with that big inland sea they have in Washington State, Seattle's off of it. And we had these, my dad and I would set up this duck blind right on the Puget Sound. And we have these decoy ducks that look just like real ducks, and we toss them out in the water so that the ducks that fly by and see them, they have to do the duck call, and they all fly down. And right behind us, there was a double set of parallel railroad tracks. And I had two different incidents that happened here, but again, angelic intervention. The first one was my dad and I were together by ourselves. We had just shot a couple of ducks, and they were out further out in the water, and they'd fall out in the water. We had a little 12-foot aluminum boat that we kept underneath a railroad trestle about 100 yards to the right. So my dad left his shotgun, butt down, pointing up against the rocks right next to me, and he walked up the little grade to get up to the double set of railroad tracks to walk down to go get the boat. He had just walked, he was on the way walking up to the tracks. I was sitting down, I had my shotgun, butt down, pointing up, and all of a sudden I hear a boom, boom, right next to me. I thought my own gun went off. So I looked down, did I somehow, my finger wasn't on the trigger, how did this gun go off? And then I looked, my dad's gun go off somehow? And then I look up to my dad, what is going on? And then here's this guy, two guys actually, were up on the rail tracks, and he had his gun to his shoulder still. He had just shot one of our decoys, thinking it was a real gun. But the problem was, he still had his gun up, and it was pointing right at me, right at my head. And I looked at that decoy that he blew up, and that trajectory, that shot went right through my head. It shot the decoy on the other side of my head, but not one pellet hit me. Divine intervention again. And the other one is actually a really funny one. It didn't happen to me. Definitely divine intervention, but pretty funny. Occasionally, when we would go duck hunting down on the Puget Sound, my dad, who was a naval officer, would bring one of his friends, who was also a naval officer, named Stan. And sometimes the three of us would go down in our little 12-foot aluminum boat. We'd have to motor from the boat launch about a mile down to where we we had our blind. This is down by the town of Stiligan. And one day, Stan brought these 2 newly minted ensigns. They had just graduated from the Naval Academy. And they were brand new ensigns, naval officers. And they said, and we all couldn't fit in the boat. And we started at dark. It was still dark out. So my dad said that he and Stan would go down in the boat, and he wanted me to walk down with these 2 ensigns down the railroad tracks and take them down to where we set up our duck line. So I said, okay. So we're walking. One of these guys' name was John, the other was Jim. Now John was carrying his shotgun in his hand. I was carrying my shotgun in my hand. Jim had his shotgun in a case over his shoulder. And for some reason, he was lagging behind, so that fellow that I was with, John, we ended up being about 75 yards ahead of him as we were walking along the railroad tracks, and he was lagging behind us about 75 yards. He was walking slow for some reason. It's just starting to get daylight. It was just the crack of dawn still. And we had just come around, there's a place where there's this great big hill that rises up, and it totally blocked the sound of trains that were coming. Now, because it was a big curve, the trains had to go slow around that curve, but you couldn't hear it coming. And I was explaining that to John. We were walking down the track, and I said, yeah, you know, I turned back and said, this is a really dangerous hill back here because the trains just pop out from behind it, and you don't hear them coming. And no sooner had I said that than a train popped out around that bend. And it was on the 2 pair of tracks. It was on the pair of tracks that was nearest the water. So John and I just step off the tracks to the inside track, and we see Jim, and Jim doesn't hear the trains, right? It's coming. He's only like 25 yards away from it. It's going slow, but it's still coming, and he doesn't hear it. So we yell, "Hey, Jim, get off the tracks. There's a train coming." So he looks up. He looks behind him. He sees the train coming. He would have been no problem just step off either side. That's not what he did. This man who might be commanding nuclear submarine someday starts running down the track like this. And occasionally looks back, sees a train coming back, and he's running faster and faster. And we're looking, what is wrong with, get off the track, Jim! Just get off the track. This side, that side, get off the track. Of course, he's getting closer to us as he's doing this. And he's just running down the track. And the train's getting closer and closer. And we cannot believe this guy is not getting off the track. And finally, the train was about from here to this wall. That's how close it was at this point. And he's running down the track. And he's about that far from us, too. He's not that far from us. So he's about that far to the train, about that far to us. And we're saying, get off the track! Get off the track! And what does he do? I guess he thought his gun was weighting him down. He takes his gun on his shoulder, he just throws it off behind him. And he keeps running like this. The train right away ran over his gun. So, because they're laying on the track. So his gun's all scrunched up. He runs. Now the train is like right on his butt. And he's right there. And he's right about where we are. We're saying, get off the track. Finally, at the last minute, he decides to get off the track. And so he just takes a big step like this to get off the track. And the train just boom. Just like that. And because the train was moving and he was stepping, he ended up flying over our heads, spinning around. He went over our track and he landed in some blackberry bushes on the other side. And we were just, you know, he's either going to get it really badly messed up. The train really hit him. They put on the brakes and came to a stop. And we went over there, expecting him to just be all mangled up. He wasn't. He didn't have any broken bones. He was scared. He didn't have any broken bones. But now both of these 2 naval officers who were trusting with our lives in the military, now they both panic. They say, I'm a 16-year-old kid at this point, okay? So they say, you gotta hide us. You know, we'll get in trouble for this. I said, hide you? There's water over there and inaccessible hill full of blackberry bushes here. There's nowhere to hide. You gotta find a place to hide us. So we just started walking back down the tracks. And then the train left, and then Stan comes down the tracks. Because when the train stopped, my dad and Stan said, well, what happened? And I said, well, we hit somebody on the track. We think we killed them. So my dad, 2 naval officers and a 16-year-old kid, who's going to get hit by the train? And so he thought it was me. And Stan was coming down, and I explained it all to him. And then later in the day, these other 2 guys just dressed in civilian clothes, came walking down the track. And, oh, by the way, my dad was so upset with those guys. Those 2 guys. He told them, I only have 1 gun left anyways. I want you to go a mile that way, and I don't ever want to see you again. And that's true. And anyway, but later in the day, the 2 guys came walking down, and they kind of just nonchalantly, you guys see anything on the tracks down there? And well, like what? What are you looking for? Is this like a dead body? Because the train knew they hit somebody. They were sure that, and that guy should have been dead. I mean, how can you get hit by a train and not at least have a broken bone, let alone be dead? So that was a pretty interesting one. Now, my first encounter with an angel was actually about my wife. When I was 16 years old, I spent a lot of time out in the woods by myself. And a lot of meditation time, a lot of contemplation time. And when I was 16, a lot happened to me in my 16th year. Oh, by the way, 16th year is also the year I stopped hunting. I told my dad, not to hunt. We don't need to kill animals for food. We can buy meat in the supermarket. I just don't want to kill animals anymore. He said, oh, it's a teenage phase. You know, you're good. I never did. But in any case, a lot happened to me in my 16th year. One day I was just laying down. I'd gone out in the woods by myself in a little meadow, and I was laying down just enjoying the sun. And all of a sudden I heard my name called quite loudly, audibly. So I looked up, who's calling me? And I couldn't see anybody. And I heard the name again, calling my name audibly. And then this time I look around, and it sounds like it's coming from the top of this big tree in front of me. And I look up at that big tree, I don't see anybody, but the whole tree is kind of like a heat wave on a highway. And that's what the whole tree looked like. It was all diffused and strange. And all of a sudden, I started to see, the first thing I saw was this slim woman with long hair down to her waist. Only from the back, I didn't see her from the front. She was walking down an aisle. Like this, in an aisle with chairs and things like that. Just like this room. She was walking out the back, she was walking away, and never saw her face. And then I started to see almost like a video, almost like movies, where I would see different people. Some people I knew, some people I didn't know, in different kinds of scenes, nothing I recognized, nothing I was aware of. But I knew I was seeing the future. And I knew that because my parents were in a lot of these scenes. And I saw them aging. So I knew I was seeing the future. The whole event took about 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, it was over. Just back to a normal wooden blade. But I was very changed at that point. It was at that point I realized I just had an encounter with an angel. It was at that point that I realized, at 16 years old, that I had just seen my future wife, who is my wife today. It was at that point that I realized I can't kill animals for food. It's not necessary. I can be perfectly healthy without it. And so I stopped hunting. It was at that point that I knew a lot of things that I had never known before from that first encounter with an angel. Now, because we're in Utah, this is General Conference for the Mormon Church. If you don't mind, are there any Mormons in the room? Raise your hand if you're an LDS person. No LDS people in the whole room?
LDS, but not active.
Okay, you don't have to be active. Just so you know about the LDS Church. Okay. All right. Well, I at one point had been LDS myself, and I asked to have my name removed from the church many decades ago. But I still have great affection for Latter-day Saint people, and as people, there's marvelous people. And I've had some very interesting experiences, and I asked if there were any other people here because you're going to understand these experiences more than the people who aren't. But this is another example where I knew in my life that angels were going to play a special part of my life. One of the presidents of the Mormon Church, when I was in the Mormon Church, was Spencer W. Kimball. And I was in New York City. I was a young man in my early 20s. I was in New York City, and I was working for Hamilton Copy Centers, which the owner, she had 5 copy centers in the town. Her name was Winnie, and I was a handyman. I would go to each one of those places during the week. And Winnie called up one day. She said, the president of the church is going to be down at the new church that they're just dedicating down in Lincoln Center. And I want you to go down there and meet me down there. I'm going to bring some flowers for the church and for the president to visit. I said, okay, that'd be great. And I said, I'm not going to be able to shake his hand. That would be really cool, you know? And so I rushed down there, and I got down there, and Winnie never showed up. The whole time I was there, Winnie never showed up. No flowers ever showed up either. But President Neff was the president of the mission, the New York City mission there, and I knew him. And so when President Kimball came in, he had this big entourage. His wife, her friends, a whole bunch of news people, they all came in through the foyer, and this is a 4-story building they're going into. And so I said, okay, well, I was just going to reach in and shake his hand as he goes by, but I never had the opportunity. There's too many people there. And then later, I went upstairs. They went up to the next floor, and President Neff saw me. Said, "Did you get to shake President Kimball's hand?" Because I had told him I wanted to do that. And I said, "No, there were too many people." And then plus, I realized when I saw all those people dressed in suits and ties, and I was in my T-shirt and my jeans I used for fixing coffee machines and things like that, it just wasn't appropriate. And he says, President Kimball grew up on a farm. He doesn't care what you wear. Just go. He's down the hall. Go meet him. So I went down the hall, and I opened the door, and I see all these, over here is all these news people. They're giving an interview, and President Kimball's wife is standing over here. And so I kind of peek in the door, and then President Kimball saw me. He says, "Brother Love," it's called, "Brother Love, come over and see me." I don't know my name. And so I come over, and then he tells the newspaper, he says, "I have to talk to this young man for a few minutes, so if you just excuse me and my wife." And he just ignored him. We talked about things. But the last thing he told me was the only really important statement. He said, "Brother Love, angels walk with you. And you do great things in this world if you remember that." And I have. Now, one of my favorite ones happened with this young lady back here, Sky, sitting in the blue. We like to collect crystals. I don't know if anybody likes to collect crystals. I like to mine crystals. I like to go where they are on the earth and dig them up out of the ground and mine them out of the mountains. There's a place up near Snoqualmie Pass in Washington State. It's called Dead Man's Canyon. I don't know if it's an official name, but it's what everybody calls it. The reason it's called Dead Man's Canyon is that when Sky and I went there, which was back in the 80s, there had already been 12 people killed in the 80s. I don't know how many more have happened since then. But it's a very, very dangerous place. And the reason is there's a spot that you get to where the canyon walls are only 50 feet apart and they rise up about 300 feet. And so if there's any rocks that are knocked down up above, they just bounce off those walls like a pinball machine and just take out anybody that happens to be down there. And then at the end of that section, there was a dry waterfall. It was about 30 feet or so. And the rocks are very smooth because during the spring floods, they run over and they made the rocks. So it was really difficult to get up that 30 feet because there was nothing to hold on to. Everything's so smooth. And several people have been killed at that spot. But the reason this spot was so great to go to is they had amethyst scepters. So an amethyst scepter is a quartz crystal that grows up like this, and then at the top, a clear quartz crystal, and then on top of that, spreading out, is a scepter, like on a king's scepter. That's that amethyst. Very, very rare crystals. And so it's worth going to Dead Man's Canyon to try to get those crystals. Now, the crystals grow in what's called bugs. Bugs are like little caves. And they can be just a foot in size, or they can, I've been in some that are 30 feet in size, 6 feet wide. And the entire wall of the bug, whether it's a little teeny one this big or a 30-foot one, is completely covered with crystals, all 360 degrees around, all pointing in towards the center. Okay? Sky and I were up there, and we had negotiated through the narrow canyon. We had negotiated up the Dead Man's Falls. And now I'm looking up the cliff, and I see this bug. I can see the opening in the cliff face. It's way up above. And I said, that's so inaccessible. I'll bet you nobody's ever going to. That has to be a virgin bug. I've got to get to that bug. And I didn't have any climbing equipment, but I was a pretty good pre-rock climber, so I just started climbing up. Sky's waiting down below for me. I'm climbing up. Now, as a good rock climber, I obey the 3-point rule. You have 2 hands and 2 feet, which means that at any time you have to have 3 of those 4 points always touching. You have 2 hands and a foot, or 2 feet and hands. So something. Let's go. You still have 2 points that are there. So anyway, I'm climbing up. Now, almost to that bug, I actually had all 4 points on that point, and everything let go. All 4 points. And I'm sliding down this cliff. It wasn't vertical. It was probably about like this. It was almost vertical. But I'm sliding down. Immediately, I was like this. So immediately, I flipped over so I could see where I was going. And I spread my legs out like this, and put my hands out, trying to slow myself down. But also seeing I'm heading right for this Dead Man's Falls, a place where people fall off and die in the rocks below. And I'm heading right for it. And I'm looking, what can I do? What can I do? And there's nothing. It's a very smooth rock face. In fact, climbing up it, I wasn't climbing on any little ledges. There weren't any little ledges. I was sticking my hands into cracks and crevices in the rock because there was actually no ledges to stand on. But then I'm looking, and I can see just below me that I'm coming, just zooming down towards me, a little nub of a rock about that big sticking out. So I spread my legs out as far as I can trying to reach that nub, and it's just not, I'm just not going to do it. I'm still a foot away, and there's no way I can reach it. And even if I could, because I had so much of my body on this side, I would have just slipped right on by it. But then at the last second, all of a sudden my body just shifted. And my right heel caught on that little nub, and I stopped. And I didn't go over the edge. Look at Sky. Sky is, she's so agitated. She's sure she's watching me go to my death. And even after I stopped, I think it hadn't registered with her yet that I didn't die. And that I had actually stopped. So she was able to climb up higher, throw a rope down to me, and I got away safely. But that was another incidence of very divine intervention. Now, my wife, Samara, had a very similar incident that she used to go skiing in Zermatt, Switzerland during the wintertime with her family. And Zermatt has incredible drop-offs, 1,000-foot drop-offs. And she and her friend were skiing at this place that was blocked off. Don't ski here! Roped off! Icy conditions. Teenagers, who cares? Well, we can do it, we're good skiers. So they go to this spot, and there's a steep slope, and it's curving around a curve, and there's a 1,000-foot cliff, and there's no railing. So as they get there, they can see several people that had also gone on that stupid course. And they were just sidestepping down the hill, trying to get their edges of their skis into the ice because it's just like a sheet of ice. So my wife Samara and her friend, we can do that. So they start doing that, and no sooner my wife started doing that, then her things go out from under, and then it's like an ice rink. She's skiing, sliding down towards that 1,000-foot drop off. And on her way down, there was a lady that was standing there, and she tried to grab onto her skis, and the lady beat her over the head with the pole because she didn't want to go over the edge with her. She didn't have that. You have to understand that's actually not an unreasonable thing in that situation. And sure enough, my wife went sailing off the edge. And everybody watching, she said the last thing she heard was her friend just screaming and watching her go to her death over the edge. And once again, similar to me with Dead Man's Canyon, as she flew off that edge, she was flying out into space, little teeny trees way down there below. All of a sudden, something very strongly pushed her against the cliff face and onto the only little edge that was there, was only about 10 feet below the top that she had gone off. So everybody up above just saw her fly off. And she actually ended up on this ledge about 10 feet right below, just barely big enough for her body to stay on. No way her trajectory would have taken her there. She had to have been pushed by a divine force to be there. And of course, then the ski patrol came and rescued her. And that was that. Every one of you has a guardian angel. Every one of you has the ability to have not just life-saving things happen to you, but life-changing things happen to you as you connect to your guardian angel. I encourage you to discover your guardian angel's name. Call upon them anyway. I've showed you how to do today. So we were talking about calling on Korban. If you have another angel, it's your guardian angel. Call upon them in the same way 3 times and let them know that you're serious, because your guardian angel isn't just your guardian angel. Think about it. This earth is a teeny speck in the universe. There are innumerable other earths besides our earth. There are innumerable other people besides us. And as many angels as there are, there's not enough angels to go around, one angel per person. So your angel has many other charges, many other people that they're in service of. So if you really want to get their attention, you need to do it 3 times. Let them know you really need to talk to them. You really need their help and stuff. And at this point, I'm going to just turn it over if you have any questions. I don't know how much time I have left here. Let's see. About time. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them this time. Questions? Okay. Well then, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I think we came in just a little after we started. So how do you figure out who is your guardian angel?
Good question. Very good question. I do that for people. If you'd like me to do that for you, I'm happy to do that for you. You can go to my website, Embrosewyn.com, and look under Guardian Angels, and you can see how I do it for you. But you can also do it for yourself. And this is, again, trusting yourself. And the best, what I found for myself, this may not be the same for you, but what I found for myself is the best way that I get messages, the things that I should do, things that I should know, is every evening I take a shower. I go to bed, so I'm getting into a nice clean bed, not a dirty bed with a dirty body. But during the day, my day is so busy. There's so many things going on that my mind is constantly having to deal with so many things. But at the end of the day, when I'm stepping into the shower just before I go to bed, all of those things I've been thinking about and dealing with the day, they're done. They're finished. So my mind is clear. Having a clear mind, however you get it, whether it's through meditation or a shower at the end of the day, that is essential to getting knowledge from other sources besides yourself. So for me, that's my favorite spot. I go into the shower, just sit under the water, and ask. One of the things that I don't consider myself a Christian, but I do like Christian Bible, certain things. One of it is there, ask and you shall know, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be open. Guess what that spells again? Ask. So ask, seek, and knock. And it's the same thing. It's that if you want to know an answer, you have to ask a question. So, and the only way you can get a clear answer is if you don't have your mind cluttered by other things, including preconceived notions about things. You have to, if you have any particular beliefs or preconceived notions, it's actually best just to release those and just go in unconditionally and ask and say, I want to know the name of my guardian angel. I want to know the name of my guardian angel. Guardian angel, whoever you are, come to me. Guardian angel, whoever you are, come to me 3 times. Guardian angel, whoever you are, come to me. Let me know your name. And the name will come to your mind. And it doesn't do it that night. The same thing again the next night. You will hear a name come into your mind. And then once that name comes into your mind, you need to trust what you heard. Because that's the part that people say, well, I was just talking to myself. I just made that up. No. If you do this step, these steps, where you ask and your mind is clear, you will find an answer that's coming from beyond you. That's the answer to your question. And you can prove that, especially with your guardian angel, the next time you're not calling on guardian angel, whoever you are, you're calling on by the name. Let's say your guardian angel's name is Fritz. Guardian angel Fritz. That's not really a guardian angel, but we'll say that. You know, come to me as I need, so let it be. Come to me, talk to me, speak to me. Talk to them like friends. They want to be your friend, but you have to talk to them like friends. Just like we'd sit down and have a conversation. Have a conversation. And then listen for the answer. And again, it's best to do this when your mind is not cluttered. So if it's a meditation you're doing, or a shower, or just laying on your bed, releasing all their thoughts, whatever works for you to keep your mind uncluttered, because that's the way you're going to get answers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
So the concept of guardian angels, like new to me. However, I do often reach out to spirits. So what would be the key differences between,
Spirit
say,
guide and
calling
guardian
out to a guardian angel versus like
Spirit.
calling out to a loved one and
spirit.
guidance?
Okay, that's a good question. Angels are divine beings, whereas deceased people that you might be calling out to, or even people call out to their spirit guides. Like Philos is my spirit guide. He's not an angel, but he's my angel. He's an angel to me because of all the help he gives to me. So I have a guardian angel that's separate from Philos. But Philos and I are such good friends, and we've done so much together, and he's helped me so much that he's who I actually turn to when I need to talk. But angels are divine beings. Angels are the only beings in existence that can exist both in a higher realm and physically here on earth as well. No other being can do that. So when you pass on from this life, you're gone from this life. You're not ever going to physically be able to be in this physical life again. But an angel can be. They can be both physically here and in higher realms as well. And in fact, one instance I will share with you, someone who actually, I've never physically been in the presence of an angel. But I did have a friend. He was a Mormon. He was actually a state president. And I'm calling Brother Wright. And Brother Wright, when his wife was pregnant with one of their children, they had multiple children, it was just one of their children. And he related this story to me. He said he was asleep in his bed, his pregnant wife was beside him. And one night, he said he was awakened by a bright light in his room. And he opened his eyes, and there was a man physically standing there, but with white light emanating all from him. And he knew immediately, he said, that he was in the presence of an angel. And the angel told him because he didn't know what if he had a boy or a girl and his wife was having. He said, your wife is going to have a daughter, and you're going to name her Susan. And she is going to be a great prodigy in this world. So he woke his wife up and told her what had happened, and she said, okay, all right. But guess what? His wife had a daughter. They named her Susan. And by the time she was 16, she was an amazing piano prodigy. That's the only person I know who's actually physically seen an angel in person. Yes, ma'am.
I just have heard, and I know that you asked for an angel to come to you, but I've also heard that there can be deception involved in it.
Absolutely, that's a great
You know what I
question.
mean? So
Yes,
you know
yes.
who is good, who's evil.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
that is a great question. So the question, and I've had this question before. People say, well, how do you know it's really an angel? Maybe it's just a demon who's deceiving you, thinking that you're calling an angel, or talking to an angel. And there's a great answer for that. Angels are divine. They are good. Every single thing, 100% of the things they tell you to do, recommend you do, are going to be things that are good for you, that benefit you, that do not hurt your body in any way, that do not hurt anybody else in any way. And that's your test. Because, yes, deceivers, they're great. Even if someone is a human and they want to deceive you, one of the things they can do, they'll tell you a lot of things that are true. And so, yeah. And then they'll throw in a falsehood because you're already used to them giving you something that was useful. So, and deceivers can be like that too. But angels are never like that. 100% of the time, every single thing they tell you is going to be right. In fact, back in the Old Testament days, they had a test for prophets. Now, the prophets aren't angels. But the test was for a prophet. If someone said, I'm a prophet of God, okay, here's the test. Every single thing you say, that God told you to say, has to happen. And if it doesn't, you're a false prophet, and you get stoned to death. So that kind of, help people not to be false prophets or not. It's
Well, a few minutes ago you said something about angels can be of the earth too. So would that be like that light that man saw? Or could she be an angel sitting beside me and looks like us?
Okay.
And it,
So let me clarify a little bit. Angels are not of the earth. So if you have a human person who lives a human life and they go to work and they have kids, they're not going to be, they may do angelic actions and they may be like an angel to someone in their life because of the service and good things they do for them, but they're not actual angels. When I was talking about angels are the only beings that can be both in higher realms and come physically, like Brother Wright, he had an angel appear to him on the side of his face.
so if someone is looking up to have an angel appear to them, it's going to be like that light thing that you said.
That would be the most likely case, yes. You're going to distinctly know that this is not a human being like a normal human being. There will be no question about that. Yes, Kim?
How do you know, like, I know that my guardian angel's a man, a male, and I know a little bit about it, but how do you know what they're doing for you as far if,
Great question, great question.
and what they're not?
Okay,
I mean, you
all right.
know.
Yeah, that's a great question. Angels get results. Now, remember I told you earlier about some people say, well, I know that an angel's been around because I saw a feather that I wasn't expecting to see or something like that. My experience is that angels are more than feathers. They give you results. So if you ask for something and your angels really help you, you're going to get that which you needed the help for. It's going to be clear. It's not going to be ambiguous. It's not going to be, well, this could have been from some other source. You're going to know because you're going to ask and you're going to receive that which you ask for. And it's not going to be something that's nebulous. Thank you very much for being a great audience.